Want to know how badly I tanked in my classroom? We've been talking about how to adapt close reading to your younger students, and today we're going to talk about everything I did wrong. I have a visitor who is going to knock everything down, so hold this. Before I spill all my classroom bundles, head over to the description in this video and you can pick up the free close reading guide. You can download it for free. It has 2 weeks of lesson plans, everything you need to get started teaching close reading. And FYI, I had to make a lot of mistakes to learn how to be really good at close reading. So all those tips I picked up that we're going to talk about today are in the free close reading guide. So you're going to want to pick that up. Here are 5 mistakes that I made when I started teaching close reading. No, maybe not use that one. I have 5 big mistakes that I kind of picked up. No, trying to talk more than the camera here. When I was preparing for this video, I kind of was taking notes of all the things that I had, and it was hard to pick just 1 or 2, but I picked 5. So here are 5 mistakes that I made when I first started teaching close reading to my first graders. And when I say mistake, I mean I tanked. Big time. The first mistake I made was skipping annotation. And I know it sounds strange because 6-year-olds typically don't take notes on passages. It's just unfamiliar for them. I mean, they're 6. The other thing when you're talking about annotation is that they're symbols, and students who, little kiddos just don't associate a symbol with reading yet, and it's a very hard concept for them. It's just not something that I imagined doing when I first started teaching reading. Annotation marks are important because it shows what your students are thinking instead of them just reading for decoding's sake. It also helps with remembering details. A lot of times I will write something down on a sticky note and I will...
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Maybe not use that. Chances are I might remember it better than if I don't write it down. Our brains are just wired to whatever we write down, it helps with the recall. And so your students are the same way. If they make note of something on the first day of your close reading, and then the second day, they're going to remember it a little bit better. It might be tempting to skip annotation, but don't. You'll find it really helps your students take ownership of their text. It's going to promote responsibility, and they're really going to be able to engage with the text and the meaning of the passages. If you're not sure where to begin teaching close reading annotation marks, in the playlist of close reading, which we've been working on this month, there is a video all about how to teach your students to use annotation marks, so you're going to want to go check that out. If you want like a little shorter digestible chunk, like low attention span chunk of how to teach annotation, you can go over to Instagram. I've made a bunch of videos on how to do that. The second mistake I made was choosing the wrong kind of reading passages. You're kind of like Goldilocks. You're looking for the just right bed or bowl of porridge. And it's the same thing with reading passages. If you choose a passage that is too short or too easy, you're going to run out of things to teach and your students are going to be bored. On the other end, if you choose something that is too hard, then your students are going to kind of tune out and start daydreaming because it's overwhelming for them. Normally you look for something in the middle, but in this case you are looking for something a little bit more difficult, but not completely overwhelming. Don't think chapter book, but do think 3 to 4 paragraphs with 3 to 4 sentences in each. You'll want these passages to be a little bit above their reading level because you do want to show them what to do when they see difficult text. Here's a sneak peek about mistake number 3. So spoiler alert, it is vocabulary. You're going to want new words and phrases that your students haven't seen. So make sure when you're choosing your reading passages, they're about 3 to 4 paragraphs in length with 3 to 4 sentences in each with some really good vocabulary inside of it. And let's get to that vocabulary right now. Vocabulary is really important for beginning readers. You know that as a reader, the more words they know, the better and the stronger they are going to be as readers. And their vocabulary grows with their reading stamina, so students who don't read at home are not going to be as confident in their reading. But you don't have a lot of time to teach vocabulary, do you? Back in the day, I would have given my students a list of 10 words, we would have memorized it, I would have given them the definition, we would have drawn a picture, and we were done. But that's not the right way to teach vocabulary anymore. And who has time for it anyway? But when you teach close reading, vocabulary is part of the close reading strategy. In a couple weeks, we're going to be doing a vocabulary video right here on YouTube. But if it's not up yet and you want to see, there is also some vocabulary tips in the free guide, which remember you can get in the description below. So if you want to check that out before the video comes, to go ahead and check that one out. And you'll see when we talk about vocabulary that it should be student-led, with the teacher as the coach asking meaningful questions or leading the discussion, instead of teacher-directed where you're giving them the words and telling them what they mean. In other words, don't tell your students the words and the definition and then expect them to use it in new and meaningful ways. It's just not going to work. All right, what are we on? And mistake number 4. I'm telling you, there's so many I've lost count. So the more I taught, the less time we had to do the fun things in the classroom. You know, I was always so bummed when we couldn't do like a weekly craft or an activity, you know, like Fun Fridays. Who remembers Fun Fridays anymore? We used to have Fun Fridays. Even if it matched the topic of what we were learning, we would run out of time, and it was a shame that we couldn't do something fun for the students. These are kids who want to come to school and have fun and just enjoy their time in your classroom. They probably need like a lot of motor control with scissors too. So, you know, that kind of is something that I always regretted that we didn't get to do. But on my last day of close reading, I made sure to add this in there. That way it was reinforcing what the topic was. It was reminding them of what we learned. And then it was also really fun. All right, mistake number 5. I want you to teach and reinforce your expectations just like you would teach any lesson. And I know you do that, but for whatever reason, I would teach my students my routines and everything, but when it came time to doing close reading, I didn't show them what I wanted them to do. I just started teaching close reading. And there are a lot of transitions with close reading. There's a lot of partner work. There's a lot, you know, the annotation aspect of it. You know, if we're using clipboards, where are you going to get your clipboards? You know, if we're using dry erase boards, you know, how do you make sure the cap is on all the way? All those little things that you are doing that kind of you need to make sure to remember that your students automatically don't know how to do. And then along with that, provide lots of opportunities to practice. I would rather assume my students don't remember my routines and just give them lots of opportunities to practice than get frustrated when they're 6 years old and they don't remember anything I said anyway. And plug for the close reading guide number 4. In the guide, there is a little editable PDF. You can either print it and write on it, or you can fill it in on your computer and then print it that way, whatever you want to do. But it's going to give you some spaces to jot down some of the transitions you might want to do, or some of the rules you expect them to do. And it just kind of helps thinking about those ahead of time. I hope this helps you see what isn't in a good class or close reading lesson, and as well as like what you should do that I didn't do when I first started. So I hope these mistakes help you not make the same mistakes that I did. And don't forget to like this video. You know, again, you know, I don't check it for vanity, but every time you like it, it shows it to somebody else. It's just the algorithm. But I'd love to help, you know, lower elementary teachers learn how to teach close reading to their students. So if you hit like, it just blows up the video and a lot more people see it. Next week, we're covering how to write your own close reading passages. And you might be saying, Rachel, why do I want to do that? I don't want to do that. But it's really good. It's going to really cater to your students. You know, you're going to be able to write about what they're learning, and I'll show you how to do that. Don't forget to check out the close reading playlist and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.